This is John Gilroy from the Federal Tech Podcast.
This is Tom Scurlock, Regional Vice President with Talend.
Today, we're going to talk about data and decision-making for federal agencies. Hit the music, Claude.
Welcome to the Federal Tech Podcast, where industry leaders share insights on innovation with a focus on reducing cost and improving security for federal technology. If you like the Federal Tech Podcast, please support us by giving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
Welcome to the Federal Tech Podcast. My name is John Gilroy, and I'll be your moderator. Today, we have a company called Talend, T-A-L-E-N-D, in the studio. I know it's virtual, but it's still a studio for me. And we're going to talk about data, some of the challenges that the federal government has regarding data. I think if you look at data challenges in the last 10 years, we see the federal government responding in many ways. We see in 2018, there's the Evidence-Based Policymaking Act, and that kind of generated interest. In 2020, there was a federal chief data officers council that was developed. So I think the federal government is at least nodding their head to this. And what I want to do is bring in a company that's had tremendous success in the commercial world and the federal world as well, and just maybe open up the federal government to new ideas from this company, Talend, because I'm compulsive. Okay, Tom, tell us about your background and give us a nutshell about Talend, and then we'll go into our questions.
Sure, yeah. I'm the Regional Vice President for Talend, a global leader in data integration and data management. We offer the only end-to-end platform that combines enterprise-grade data integration, integrity, governance, and data services capabilities across a unified platform. So we can handle data across any cloud, whether it's hybrid, multi-cloud. So Talend helps the public sector remove barriers to become data-driven. So with Talend, users across the agencies, they actively collaborate to understand, improve, and create value from their data organization-wide. We have over 7,300 customers, and top analyst firms and industry media recognize Talend as a leader in data management software. We're headquartered in San Mateo, California, and most of our federal team is here in Washington, D.C. And I've been with Talend now for coming up on 4 years.
Good, good. I love the word value. In my world, if you can't provide value, then just walk away. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, I'm have lunch with my wife at Chick-fil-A today. It's good value for the meal. I think it's pretty good. And so that provides value. But I think when I see these acts by the federal government, it talks about evidence-based policy. It could use the wrong data to get the evidence. And so you have to bring value. And I think that is really what we have to talk about today and focus on it, because there's so much data out there. And when I was interviewing a PhD in mathematics last week, she was telling me about artificial intelligence and machine learning. And she says, but hey, if you start off with junk, you might as well not even go to work the next morning, huh? You have to have clean data to begin with.
Absolutely. So when it comes to artificial intelligence and machine learning tools, it's only as good as the data that's fed into them. So trusted data is at the heart of Talend's purpose. So if you can't trust your data or it's unreliable, the decisions that agencies are making, they're not sound. So for our listeners, if I can, machine learning is just a method used to devise complex models and algorithms that lend themselves to prediction. And that's really good. These models allow agencies, researchers, analysts, basically to produce reliable, repeatable decisions and results. And for Talend, what I hear all the time from developers, that they find it difficult to assess their agency's data in terms of its quality or trustworthiness, its relevance. They spend all this time just task on preparing the data or profiling it, and that leaves very little time for actual analysis and getting value from that data. And so that's why data scientists, at least the AI and ML developers, they love Talend because we help them scale using a single source of that trusted data. So a good example of that with Talend is our data catalog product, and some things that data catalog can help AL and ML developers do is increase regulatory involvement to drive compliance and accountability. And even more importantly, and we see this one all the time, is it can help monitor and classify sensitive data in real time by leveraging automation tools so they can scale, kind of avoid the human errors that come with hand coding.
True confession here, I prepped for this interview by going to YouTube and typing in your company name and watching videos. I could also type in dog training. And there's probably a bazillion videos on dog training. But then this word, kind of crosses the streams. There's the word training that involved with data. It's called, people must train data to make sure it's clean. So where's this word train come in?
Training data just means that you're prepping it properly. I mean, that's how I view it. So when I'm in front of agencies and they're struggling or they're trying to find the data, what you're doing is repeatable, coming in and cleansing that. You're prepping that data and cleansing it so you can push it over and use it for whatever the mission outcome you're trying to drive, whether it's analytics, creating applications, sharing of data. But if you don't clean it and prepare it properly, then what you do on the back end from an analytics standpoint won't work.
It makes sense. I've done hundreds of these interviews, and many times I will interview a company, and it turns out they work with a company from, 3 interviews ago or 3 interviews from now. And so everyone seems to work with everyone in this town to try to solve problems. Some people are good at transmission mechanics, some people are good at tire mechanics, some people are good at exhaust. And so different skill sets are brought in here. When I go to your website, I notice that you've recently announced a partnership with 2 companies called Passerelle and Snowflake. So how does this fit in the data matrix for solving problems for our federal listeners?
Absolutely. So yes, before actually taking the RVP role, I actually led our public sector channels team. So I'm intimately aware with how we work with partners in our go-to-market execution. Partnerships are a major factor in our success. And as I like to say, it pays to partner with Talend. So Talend, we have strategic partners across the spectrum, and they love how we collaborate so easily. We have systems integrator partners like Cognosante, Deloitte, Accenture, Booz Allen, and Leidos, the usuals that love Talend because we're strategic. And this is where it comes back to your question. We're strategically aligned with technology partners like Snowflake and the hypers like AWS, Microsoft, Google, and Cloudera. So what our systems integrator partners do, they build out solutions for agencies that are seeking to modernize their platforms. And Talend is at the heart of data management in those solutions. So collectively, Talend and our partners can drive greater value for our customers because we can interoperate between each other. You don't have to worry if we're going to be able to work with AWS or does it run in Snowflake. They're partners of ours as well. So how they drive value is typically through accelerators. So we have 70 plus accelerators. A couple examples are you can do a direct lift and shift into AWS S3. We have a Snowflake ETL data processing methodology. So with our world-class alliances and channels team and Talend Academy for training and enablement, it's, partnering with Talend and building out, and this is where it really becomes important, a revenue generating Talend practice has never been easier. And our customers and the agencies benefit from that.
Oh, I missed a word there in my show prep here. Talend Academy. So tell me more about that.
So that's basically, think of it like a university for all things Talend. We have classes across every piece and every tool within the Talend data fabric. And so our partners and our customers have access to it, and they come in, they train, they can get certified, they can get accredited. And it's a good way to learn Talend.
Wow, that's good to know. I have to confess her that a few years ago, I used to look out mass amounts of data here. I'd use fancy words like petabytes. I got to the point where I ran out of zeros. I mean, I can't control the amount of data coming in everywhere. I mean, it's just, if you look at satellite data coming in, geospatial data coming in, data from the oceans, data from every conceivable place, it's just, it's not a fire hose anymore. It's a tsunami. And I think I don't even have enough zeros to describe the amount of information that's coming in every day. And so what's unique about Talend? What do you guys got? What's your magic sauce?
Well, there's a lot into our sauce. Going back, it's like, how do they harness that data and do it in a secure manner? Because really, and to your point, governments and agencies are moving to data-driven decision-making, and that's changing dramatically. And to your point, roughly 2.5 quintillion bytes of data per day.
Ooh, that's the word. Give me the zeros on that one.
It's an obscene amount of data per day. So when a resident receives an agency email or calls a department, takes a survey, signs up for a social service, data is created.
Yep.
And what this does, it puts agencies in a wonderful position of creating citizen applications to serve the public more efficiently, to be good stewards of our taxpayer dollar, but it creates a number of problems as well. And that's where we come in. So we can align that data with outcomes. And that's kind of the secret sauce. We help them do that. So as governments are managing growing numbers of data sources, because it's all over the place, data volume, because it's coming in at all the time. So you got batch, you got real time. What happens is there's a lot of people within agencies that want to work with that data. And so Talend helps with that. In fact, 62, but that puts agencies at risk for data leaks, breaches, inconsistent data. There's just opens up for problems. So as you're balancing, trying to harness that data with kind of securing it, there's a balance there that Talend can help with. So I think I heard a couple of weeks ago, 62% of end users actually admit that they have access to data that they shouldn't have. So that becomes a big problem. And to me, and this really gets at the heart of, the secret sauce, to me, it's about good data quality. And so you need it available to everyone who can harness that data and be those good stewards and create, those applications that serve the public efficiently, balancing it against security and who has access to it. So some of that also goes into the zero trust that we hear about, but which is just everything has to be, checked and crossed, and basically everything has to be checked for anyone that touches it. But for Talend data quality, I think is our secret sauce. It's pervasive throughout all of our products. So it's not a separate tool that you purchase. It's built into all of our products. So you can rely on the accuracy and completeness, the uniqueness and the validity of that data that you're using to serve the public. And that allows agencies to utilize the data in a meaningful and impactful way without compromising for security.
I exchanged email with my sister this morning, and we were talking about zero trust. And from her, she's a regular American citizen, California, and went back and forth on that. And really, I think the word trust or confidence, I think American citizens need to have some kind of trust or confidence in the information they get from federal agencies. And what I see is the govies that listen to this really are sincere about it. I mean, they work hard and they try to make sure it's accurate. And I'm sure they partner with companies like yours to make sure that they're giving the citizen a good experience that they can rely on. I think this is amplified here with COVID, more and more people online, all those people, they almost demand confidence in the answer they give online, don't they?
They absolutely do. COVID is definitely a great example where the public and private sectors come together. So trust in our institutions is vital. And consumers and citizens, they want accountability from our government, and they want them from our private companies as well. We demand, as I mentioned before, good stewards of our taxpayer dollars, and hopefully innovation and utilizing data being results-oriented can help with that. So data is definitely in the middle of that process. One issue that continually arises around this and is really around data sharing. And COVID kind of brought that out with HHS, CDC, FDA, the private sector, life science companies. Data was siloed between the different parts of each organization, and getting to it. That's why you would often hear CDC say something different from FDA and different from, what came out of, the House or the Senate or the White House. It was often not because they weren't marching toward wanting to help. It was because they all had different data and they were operating off of that. So having a secured and governed process for data sharing, at least for Talend and for me as a leader for our public sector practice, is critical to managing a global pandemic, is it not? So we saw what happened, and the results were not always good, but Talend can help in many ways. And a product that we have is API services. And basically that's just a enterprise application integration platform that just allows for that data sharing across different parts of an organization. So we call it data as a service. So basically it drives productivity gains, and it actually controls costs internally because previously siloed data can now be shared. And going back to the COVID, and says, as those organizations can share information and have visibility, they can be more accountable to what is delivered to the public. And Tom, that restores trust in our institutions.
I have to put on my radio guy hat here. I've done radio for so many years, I have to repeat. So the company is Talend. And if you'd like to pursue this and get more information, you can go to talend.com/solutions/government and get more information on the solutions that they offer. Tom, I began this interview with talking about the Federal Data Strategy Act plan. And I haven't read it, but I'm sure there's got to be some paragraph in there where it says, we're paying our people a lot of money to do repetitive, boring tasks. I mean, we didn't recruit this person and drag him in here and train him and pay him all this money to have him, look at Excel spreadsheets all day long or review logs. And so what role does artificial intelligence and automation play in this reduction of this manual task to free up some more intellectual brain power for solving problems?
In many ways, it's, the tech leaders want to do things more efficiently. So I think the primary goals when it comes to automation and artificial intelligence and machine learning, as we're still trying to grapple with what is the art of the possible, is really just to gain insights and make faster decisions better than ever. And don't we all want that? It's just, how do you do that? So where Talend comes into this, and there's a lot of partners that tech partners that play into this, but we unleash kind of an agency's real-time and streaming analytics capabilities. We harness the power of serverless Spark streaming. So essentially, to our audience and to those that are listening, all that means is you're able to process data at a massive scale, and then you do it with machine learning. So Talend's real-time big data, we generate native code that can run anywhere, cloud, hybrid, multi, whatever an agency needs. Basically, what this does is it just turns their data pipelines into real-time trusted pipelines that they can take action on with agility and speed and automation, and it kind of reduces the probability of human error. So just tying that back, as we're able to take advantage of AI and ML technologies, we can just really speed up that time to value and really get actionable goals that are achievable.
Tom, when you said the word hybrid, I wrote down integration, and then I started thinking about Seinfeld. And in one episode of Seinfeld, they talk about name names. I'm going to name names. Well, I'm not going to ask you to name agencies or name companies. I'm going to say, in general, large organizations, public, private, who knows where do they fail in data integration? What's the big hurdle?
Well, how about this? The leading analyst firms, McKinsey, Bain, they report between 70 to 95% of digital transformation projects fail. And that includes private sector too, but it's across the board. So just take the low number, 70%. 70% fail. And that, first of all, that doesn't need to happen. With better planning, you can have a more successful data or digital transformation project. And that's just a tremendous amount of failure. But also, and I think this gets at the heart of it, is 40% of leaders still only treat data as a strategic asset. So I think that's where it initially begins, is that they're not treating the data that's in their system or in their organization as an asset. So once you get beyond that, then a lot of things can happen. I still think in today's world, how any leader cannot treat their data as an asset is just beyond me. But we'll get beyond that. So failure to me is not so much at the integration level as it is not focusing on the business outcomes that they need. Their data supports their agency objectives when we pull it back into government, but they've got barriers into finding and using and trusting that data that just prevents them from achieving what they're trying to accomplish from a mission outcome standpoint. And where Talend comes in and helps, all we do is come in and help align their data to their outcomes. And we integrate that using either batch or real time based on what they're trying to do. From all their systems and targets into a single platform. And that makes it easier for them to be able to harness that data and use it to deliver a successful project.
So the purpose of this podcast is talk about innovation to reduce costs for federal technology systems. And so the pointed question to you is, so how can Talend, Talend, how can they reduce cost for federal agencies? I imagine it's in providing both real and batch information, or what's the key sentence to help them reduce cost with your system?
Oh, I don't know if I can reduce it to a sentence or not. However, I love this question. It's a great question because the data management landscape is chaotic. And if I did reduce it to one sentence, I would just say instead of purchasing multiple products, agencies should be thinking Talend to handle all their data management needs. And what I mean by that is agencies look to solve data problems by seeking out a point solution for any of the use cases that they might be dealing with, whether it's data integration or integrity or data quality or API integration or governance. There's plenty of them. They look at one company to solve one specific problem when they should be looking larger. So the problem of attacking data problems with point solutions becomes costly because you end up investing in multiple solutions when you could use one. Integration, there's plenty of companies out there that handle just integration or ingestion or replication. For governance, there's companies that just handle cataloging. And for API related projects, there's plenty that handle application integration and just that. What makes Talend so unique and great is that we handle all of these in a single unified platform. It's fantastic. It's cloud independent, which means you use the same product to develop and run cloud, hybrid, or on-prem. You don't install different tools to support different projects or workloads. It's unified. All of our tools come in the same product. You're not buying 3 or 4 different tools to accomplish your goals. And maybe this is even better. It's predictable pricing, and governments or agencies tend to like that because it's a simple per user pricing. That means there's no, tax for connectors or environments or any of that stuff that you typically hear. It's just, per user pricing. So again, I'll go back to that one sentence. Instead of purchasing multiple products to handle your data journey, agencies should be thinking Talend to handle all those data management needs.
Data journey. I'll have to write that one down. That's a good one. I'll be teaching here in January. I have students who are technology majors, and we're starting our data journey today. I'll have to remember that one. Well, thank you very much for your time today. You've been listening to the Federal Tech Podcast with John Gilroy. I'd like to thank my guest, Tom Scurlock, Regional Vice President at Talend.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Federal Tech Podcast. If you like the Federal Tech Podcast, please support us by giving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.